Hello and welcome back to another scenery tutorial. Today we're going to talk about optimizing your photoreal scenery for use in FSX and P3D. Now, in general, photoreal scenery doesn't need a lot of optimization, and there's not a lot of optimization you can do to your photoreal scenery. Performance-wise, it's not going to make a huge difference. One of the major things you do when optimizing your photoreal scenery is just attempting to reduce your file size or get your file size as small as possible without losing quality. If you're going to be distributing your scenery, you want to make sure your file size is as small as possible. Think about all the users out there that do not have, great internet connection, although most of us by now do. So let's talk about null value. If you've ever had a look through the FSX SDK documentation, which is available at msdn.microsoft.com, if you look under Terrain and Scenery and scroll just past halfway on your page, you will see a bunch of parameters for use in your INF file. One of these parameters is null value, featured right here, it's dead center of the screen, well, almost dead center. What the null value does is you define a color, as in 255, 255, 255, which is defined as white. This null value tells Resample what color of pixels to exclude from rendering. So basically, if you have your null value set to 255 across the board there, that means any pixel that is white inside of your INF file will be automatically considered not data, so no data, when that file is compiled through the Resample program. Now, some INF files that you may find will have this parameter in there by default, but I do not recommend using the null value parameter. Why do I not recommend using it? Well, when I was first getting into scenery design, I had no idea what the null value parameter was. Never looked it up, didn't really care about it at the time. Whenever I'd go and fly in my photoreal scenery coverage area, I kept seeing red splotches on the ground, and they would always be where there was something white, whether that was a building in the photoreal ground texture with a white roof, or something highly reflective, like maybe a road that was extremely bright or something. I would always see those red splotches on those areas. I never put two and two together. Well, when Resample defines no data, it will define it as a red color. So if there's no data where a pixel is, that pixel will turn red, basically. So if you've ever compiled photoreal scenery and you have that null value in your INF file and you keep seeing red splotches on the ground, simply removing that null value line will clear up those red splotches. Now, the null value was intended to be used to help you define areas of no data, which will reduce your file size. Okay, so with null value out of the picture, how do we reduce our file size? Well, there are a couple ways to do this. The first way is simply in your INF file using compression quality. You'll notice here that compression quality is set to 100. This technically means that there is no compression, or the quality for your compression is basically lossless compression. Lowering this number by any amount will incorporate a lossy compression, which will reduce your file size but also reduce the quality of your photoreal. Now, I have a couple of example BGLs that I have pre-compiled here. I will have this BGL right here for Tallahassee Municipal Airport. It is 30 centimeter photoreal textures, and it's currently using a compression quality of 100. Now you will notice that this file size is 58.9 megabytes. That's just including one texture, a blend mask, and a night map, or light map as it's called, which is your night textures for your photoreal. So 3 files, and this BGL file after being compiled is 58.9 megabytes. This is completely without any optimization whatsoever. Now the next BGL file I have right above it are the same three files, simply changing the compression quality to 85. This has been agreed upon that this is the most balanced compression quality setting. It gives you a great file size reduction without really noticeably losing any quality whatsoever. With compression quality set to 85, our BGL file is now 15.9 megabytes. The same files, the only thing we have changed is the compression quality. Now if you notice, that is a big difference in file size from 58.9 to 15.9. Now 15.9 megabytes is a fairly small file size, but you know what? We can make this a little bit smaller. How do we do this? Well, we need to open up our source imagery. So our bitmap for both our textures and our day textures and our night textures. So open them up in Photoshop. By now, you should have already created your blend mask or water mask or whatever you need. Now, what do you know about alpha channels? Well, in an alpha channel, anything that is white can be seen. Anything that is black cannot be seen. The same thing applies with all of these pixels in this image. Now, if you take a look at our blend mask, you can see the area that we want to be seen. Now, everything outside of the blend mask does not matter in the flight sim. We're not going to see it, so why should we include it in the image if we're not going to see it? With this little optimization, we are just going to simply trace the outside of our blend mask so that we are getting just this black area out here. We will then turn this area to a flat black color, and that will help us exclude some data that just doesn't need to be rendered in. In your editing program of choice, select the polygonal lasso tool. Now, you will want one that you can simply click and add points to. Don't get one that you gotta click and drag all the way around. It's not gonna work. Make sure you can click and drag and add points if you need to. So let's select that tool, and we're simply just going to follow our blend mask all the way around with this tool. Now, I will speed this up for you, and we will meet back in a second. Okay, and as you were placing this lasso around your photoreal area, you should have been trying to get as close to the blend as you can without overlapping any of your imagery. Now, before we apply this mask to this image, we're going to check and make sure that we're not overlapping any of our imagery. If we are, we need to make sure that we get the mask moved away from the imagery. If you do not, in your sim, you might catch a glimpse of a black edge running through the blend of your photoreel, and we don't want that because that doesn't look good. So that's why we're going to check it before we go through all the trouble of that. Now go up to the select. You're going to invert your selection so that it's going to make the area outside of the photoreel your workable area. Create a new layer in your program. Don't need to really name it unless you want to. Take the paint bucket with flat black, 000 or 6 zeros, doesn't really matter. It's black either way for your color. So flat black, and we're just gonna drop the paint bucket in on that new layer inside of our selected area. So close out of that now. We tick off our blend mask. We will notice we now have a mask around our photoreel, covering up the areas that we don't necessarily need to have rendered because we're not going to be seeing them in the sim. So for checking this to make sure we haven't overlapped our blend mask in any way, I'm going to create a new layer. Just name it whatever. Drag this layer beneath your blend mask layer, but keep it above your background imagery. Open up your color picker, type in triple F or 6Fs, whatever you want to do. Triple F should work. That is flat white. Get your paint bucket tool again, and we're just going to drop it onto that layer, turning that entire layer white. Now you can activate your mask and activate your blend mask. Now what we want to do is we basically just want to zoom in on this image fairly close and look at our blend here. The white background gives us a nice contrast between the white and black, so that it allows us to see details more easily. We're just going to scroll around the image here, taking a look at our blend mask. If we see any hard straight lines, which you can kind of see right here, you see this hard line? That's something that we don't want. So we're going to take our lasso tool here, just kind of go around like that, and close it up. Get your eraser. And first of all, make sure you're on the right layer. We want to be on our mask layer. Let's go ahead and title that mask. Oh, that's not the right way to spell mask. That is the right way to spell mask. Okay, so we want to be on our mask layer. Now we're just going to erase that general area there. Now if we kind of zoom in on it, I don't see a hard edge anymore. So if you don't see that hard edge while you're zoomed in like this, chances are you're not going to notice it in the sim. So you've pretty much cleared it up, or you've gotten it away from the blend enough so that's not overlapping. Okay, so up here we got another one. Kind of just go like this. You don't want to shave off any more really than you have to. What you want to do here is get this black mask as close to the blend mask as you can without overlapping it. You want to exclude all of the pixels that you can. Now, if you can kind of see right here, it may be kind of hard to see, but there still is a little bit, a slight sliver of a hard edge, so I'm just going to very gently go like that, kind of make a curve in towards the light, and we'll take the eraser to it again. And I don't really see it anymore, so we'll call it no factor now. So, zoom out a little bit, continue scrolling down through our blend mask here, and we're just going to continue doing this until we get all of those hard edges cleared up. I'm going to check the remainder of this blend mask real fast. You should do the same, and I'll speed up the video once more and we'll catch up again. Okay, so we masked over our blend mask in quite a few areas, but that's okay. That means we were getting fairly close to where we needed to be. So just backing those lines or that blend mask off a little bit helped to clear up all those areas where we had clipped the blend mask. Okay, now that our mask is complete, we can delete our white background. Make sure you save your file. I'm saving mine as a PSD file, so all my changes are in here. Now, after we have saved, we'll go ahead and delete our blend mask out of there, leaving our mask with a transparent center and our background in place. Now we're going to go to our layer tab, Click merge visible. That's going to merge these two layers together, and boom, all this stuff that we didn't need to see is now solid black. That means there's no color pixels to render out in this area, which means our file size is now going to be a lot smaller. But we don't need to stop at this image. We can also carry this mask over to our blend mask and any other photoreal ground textures other than our blend mask and our water mask if we need them. In the case of this airport, we do not need a water mask. So we're just going to make a real quick blend mask. We're not going to add any lighting to it. Let's just darken it up so that it agrees with nighttime. So we're going to add a new layer. No need to name this layer, we're just going to merge it together anyways. Go back over to our color selector, type black in again for our color, get the paint bucket, and drop it onto that layer. Now go over here to our layer opacity, bring this down just a little bit to roughly about 95 is what I like to use, so 95%. That gets it where our ground is just kind of showing through, but the texture is fairly dark. So fairly appropriate for a nighttime texture. So let's go back up to the layer tab, click merge visible. Now our layers are merged. We got all this black no data area over here, as well as our black opaque night map layer over the top to darken up the texture. So we're going to go to Save As, make sure we're selecting bitmap, and we're just going to save it as Tulasi _capital LM, which stands for light map. So hit save. We're going to replace it. Make sure we're saving as a 24-bit BMP, and Windows format. Click OK. Our file is now saved. So we can go back into our work folder here. We can see that our light map file has been updated. It is now dated the 2nd, which is today's date. Checking over our INF file real quick, we have all of the entries in here. This airport does not have any water in our photoreel, so we do not need a water mask. So I've taken the water mask entry out, just leaving our blend mask entry, our light map entry, and our regular daytime entry. So I will set our compression quality down to 85%, which is about the agreed standard as I said before. Click File and Save. And we're just going to take our INF file and drag it over top of the resample.exe. That's going to pop up a window here, and it's going to start compiling it. There's only 1,340 cells here, so this will be fairly fast, about 30 seconds to compile this BGL. So we'll wait on this to finish up. Okay, and comparing our file sizes again, we didn't save a whole lot of space, but we did save a little bit of space. So looking at our 15% compression here, so 85 on the compression quality, that gave us a file size of 15.9 megabytes. Now with the compression quality at 85 for this, and adding in our black mask to exclude all those pixels we don't need, we have got that file size down to 15.6 megabytes. So didn't shave off a whole lot, but if you're dealing with a larger file and a larger coverage area, that will tend to shave off a lot more off your file size. Alright, and as I said before, there is not a whole lot you can optimize on photoreal. They're just textures. What I've showed you are the basic optimizations you can do to help bring down your file size. So if you're distributing your files, the users that are downloading those files don't have to waste their bandwidth on a bunch of data that they're never going to see. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to drop them in the comment section below. I'll be answering back to you. If you want to see any other scenery tutorials done on this YouTube channel, comment down below as well. Tell me what you want to see, and if I know how to do it, I will make a tutorial about it, or attempt to, at least. While you're at it, if you're just getting into scenery design, check out my last video on the channel, ADE AFCAD Alignment 2016. That'll show you how to align your ADE AFCAD with photoreal scenery for use in FSX and P3D. If you want to see more videos like these, leave me a comment below, tell me what you want to see. Like this video, subscribe to this page, and share it around. That'll help me out greatly. Anyways, hopefully you've learned something off this tutorial, and that is all I have for you for now. Take care, and until next time.